Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down two powerful and opposing leadership styles that really shape our workplaces and our world. One builds legacies, and the other, well, it pretty much just leaves a trail of wreckage. All right, let's jump right in with a super high stakes choice. Imagine this: the pressure is on. A huge crisis just hit. It's in that single moment that a leader's true colors really come out, and you see where their priorities lie. It's a total gut check for them and for you as a follower.
And really, that choice, it all boils down to a leader's true north, that internal compass that guides every single decision. Are they fundamentally guided by serving others, by lifting them up to achieve a shared mission? Or are they just driven by serving themselves? Their own status, their power, their personal ambition.
Okay, so what do these two paths actually look like in the real world? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of these core philosophies, because honestly, understanding them is the secret to spotting them out there, and maybe even in yourself. So first up, you've got the follower-centric leader. You might have heard them called a servant leader. Their whole game is built on this really powerful idea of service. They're constantly asking, how can I help my team win? Their main job, as they see it, is to clear the path and build a place where everyone feels like they can absolutely crush it. And then, you've got the flip side of that coin, the ego-driven leader. For this person, the team is basically just a stepping stone for their own career. The question they're always asking is, how can my team make me look amazing? It's all about personal gain, their reputation, and yeah, a whole lot of control. All right, let's take a walk down that follower-centric path first. We're going to see how this blueprint for leadership isn't just about scoring some quick wins. It's about building something that lasts, a real legacy of loyalty and impact. Just think about a real-world example, okay? Picture an innovative tech CEO. Instead of just demanding ideas from on high, they actually build a culture of psychological safety, a place where people aren't terrified to take a risk and maybe fail. They're the ones shouting about their team's wins from the rooftops. But when something goes wrong, they take the heat privately. It's because they truly believe their people are the most valuable thing the company has. And here's what's so cool about this. These benefits, they don't just happen in isolation. They create this amazing, powerful, positive feedback loop, right? So team morale goes up, which means you keep your best people. And those people feeling safe and valued, they start doing incredible, groundbreaking work. And that, in turn, fuels this awesome, high-performing culture that, guess what, attracts even more great people. It literally becomes a self-sustaining engine for success. Okay, now we've got to look at the other path. This is the predictable and, let's be honest, often destructive trap of leading with ego. Here, the foundation isn't built on loyalty. It's built on fear. I mean, we've all seen this movie before, right? It plays out over and over. Just think of any major corporate scandal. If you dig down to the root of it, you almost always find a leader who made a bunch of short-sighted, self-serving calls. Cutting corners to hit a bonus target, bearing bad news to save face, or the classic, throwing their team under the bus for their own mistakes. And the fallout from that? It's severe, and it just cascades down through the whole organization. Trust, which is like the absolute bedrock of any good team, that's the first casualty. Then productivity tanks because everyone is too busy playing politics and covering their own backsides to actually work together. And the end result? You guessed it, massive burnout and a revolving door of people heading for the exit. And check this out. This is the real-world cost. In some of these toxic workplaces, studies have actually shown turnover rates as high as 75%. That's not just a number on a chart. That is a catastrophic failure to protect the single most valuable asset any organization has. It's people. But of course, the real world, it's never that black and white, is it? Most leaders aren't, mustache-twirling villains or perfect saints. So how do you actually spot these styles when they're all mixed up in the messy, gray areas of everyday life? Let's take a fast-growing startup, for example. The pressure is just immense. The founders, they probably started with a ton of genuine passion. But as the stakes get higher and higher, that healthy ambition can start to curdle into a really destructive ego. So what happens? Do they share the success, the equity, the credit with the early team that helped build the whole thing? Or do they start consolidating power and pushing those same people out? It's that pressure that reveals everything. So the key here is to look for the subtle tells, the little things. Does the leader always seem to be front and center for the wins, but mysteriously disappear when there are losses to account for? Do they micromanage every single detail, which basically screams, I don't trust you? Are they way more worried about the optics, how things look, than the substance of how they actually are? Yep, those are the red flags, and they all point to a leader whose true focus is themselves. You know, this is probably a good time to just pause for a second and think. Just reflect on your own experiences. Where have you seen these two styles clash? Maybe it was a manager you had, a coach, a team captain, maybe even in your own family. Just being able to recognize the dynamic, that's the first huge step. Because at the end of the day, whether you're running a whole company or just trying to lead by example in your own life, it all comes down to a choice. A conscious choice about the kind of impact you want to have and the kind of legacy you're going to leave behind.
And here's the really good news. Follower-centric leadership isn't something you're just born with. It's a set of skills you can actually learn. So here are some practical, totally doable things you can start doing, like today, for real. Try to listen more than you talk. Really invest in your team's development, even if it means they'll eventually grow beyond their role. Embrace being a little vulnerable. Be honest about what you don't know. And maybe the biggest one of all, completely shift how you define success. It's not about your wins anymore, it's about the team's wins.
Just remember, becoming a great leader isn't like reaching a final destination. It's not a box you check, it's a journey, a continuous one. It takes constant self-reflection, being willing to admit when you're wrong and learn from it, and having the humility to know that, hey, there's always room to get better. So we're going to leave you with this final, pretty powerful question that really gets to the heart of this whole thing. It's not just about what kind of leader you'd want to follow, it's about what kind of leader you want to be. And that choice, well, that choice is all yours.